guys, I am Hayaat and I'm with a new guest, Monique, Skinfiltrator, the skincare goat. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. So my name is Monique. I had a lovely introduction. Also known as the Skinfiltrator, I'm a skincare content creator and an esthetician. And I speak a lot about black and POC skin. That's me.
Okay, so are you a licensed esthetician in the UK?
In the UK.
Yeah, cool. So how do you find esthetician school? Just as a quick question.
Yeah, it was okay. So it's just beauty school. It's very chill. You learn a lot. What I'd say is you get to kind of cover all the bases. So like hair removal, facials, obviously the skin health and the important stuff, but it's very all round here.
Oh, sick. Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I always see estheticians from like the UK and the US compare and say that the UK is kind of outdated in comparison.
100%.
Really?
Yes.
Do you feel like you had to do like a lot of self-study?
100%. I make sure that I speak to a lot of dermatologists and doctors on like a daily basis, and I read a lot of articles. Hair, it's more about beautifying in general, whereas in America they're very specific about being licensed and things like ingredients and skin health, whereas hair is more just like, I think, you know, the lashes and the nails and stuff.
Yeah, the hair removals and waxes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I have this segment on all episodes called Two Truths and Lies if I have a new guest. So do you have two truths to tell my audience?
Okay, cool. So no lie, just the two truths.
Just the two truths.
Okay, so I've spoken about this before, but I had a run-in with the Italian Mafia and I almost got kidnapped. And it sounds like a lie, but I promise you this is the truth. It was crazy.
What?
No, seriously.
Okay, what's the second one? And then we'll circle back to that.
The second one is I almost have a black belt in kickboxing.
Oh, sick. Okay, so if you were with the Mafia,
I can tussle.
And you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So wait, can we hear the story? How did this start? How did this happen?
Alright, I'll try and make it kind of brief, but interesting. So I took one of my ex-girlfriends to Italy for Valentine's Day. And when we first arrived, we were approached by this man and he kind of was like, you know, are you guys okay? I said, we're looking for a hotel. He was like, oh yeah, the hotel's there. So we said, cool. So he said, you know, do you want me to drop you? And we didn't get it. So that was like, I feel like that was the foreboding of how the trip was going to go.
Yeah.
And I am an explorer. I love going out by myself. And, you know, the hotel owner was like, please don't do that. You need to go out with a man.
Where in Italy were you?
I went to Milan and then to Lake Garda.
Okay.
And then we went to Venice for a little bit. So we went to Venice for Valentine's Day. And when we first got there, the restaurant owner was acting really weird, very like scared, and you know, walked us to the restaurant like we were celebrities, to this table. We had the most amazing meal. When we were finished, I tried to pay and he said, oh no, it's on me. I said, okay, that's nice, lovely.
What's the catch?
And then when I went outside, there was a guy standing there and he said, I hope you enjoyed your meal. Compliments of the Mafia. I said compliments of the who? Of the who? So I've gone back inside now.
Oh my god.
I've spoken to my girlfriend and, you know, I'm kind of like, look, what should we do? I'm going to just go take money out, try and pay, whatever. And he's like, no, you need to give me your passport. He was asking me, does any family know I'm there? Asking me really weird questions. And I was like, yeah, all my family know I'm here. I was like, I'm traveling with people. So we did end up escaping. I'm speeding through the story, so there are like little bits that make more sense. I've got a video where I talk about this in depth. Yeah. But basically
because I used to see this full thing. Yeah.
Long story short, we ended up running out of Venice, like running to catch a train that we weren't meant to be on, so that we could get out. And then when I got back to the hotel and spoke to the hotel owner, he was like, yeah, 100%. He said that black women, especially Western black women, are targets of the Mafia because we get more money.
Wow, so much traffic.
Yeah, so it's about trafficking and about, he said, they take your passport, they make you Mafia girlfriends. He told me how, where he lived before, they had cut the brakes on his pregnant wife's car. They set his hotel on fire because he wasn't paying the taxes. And when he called the fire brigade and the police, they were like, oh, we're not allowed to come for a specific amount of time, but we will be there. But you know how it is. So it was serious.
That's really crazy because I wouldn't expect that from somewhere like Italy. Do you know what I mean?
I mean,
like, I knew the Mafia existed, but I didn't think it was like that. Like those type of stories I kind of hear okay, maybe I watch a lot of telenovelas, but like in Colombia, things like that.
Yeah.
But in Italy, like Venice, that's crazy.
Do you know what I think it is? I think we have this idea, this old school movie idea of what the mafia is.
Yeah.
But if you think about every country, any country where there's poverty, there's corruption, you're going to have gangs. Because mafia is just a word for organised crime, really.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I mean, he wasn't standing there in all black with shades. Like, he was just a normal guy.
That's how I actually imagined
No,
it.
it
I imagined
wasn't.
there, like, with a leg up.
No, it wasn't that at all. He was just a normal guy. And you wouldn't expect it, but you know, it was crazy.
That is actually insane. Like, that may be the craziest story I've heard.
And I think to myself, if I didn't have a little bit of sense, like the way that the story went, everything was very close. And if I didn't have sense, that whole situation could have gone very differently. I could have been gullible, like, yeah, why not? Oh, that's fun. No.
Nah, do you know what? Street smarts are so important because I feel like I take a lot of risks in life. Like, I love an adventure. I love to take a risk. I love a good story. I do it for the plot. But sometimes I'm like, I narrowly missed it. And that seems like a crazy.
It honestly was.
Crazy. Okay, and then the other one was kickboxing, right?
Yes, kickboxing.
Okay, so how'd you get into that? How long for?
So, it's interesting. So I moved over to the UK from Jamaica. And my mum just wanted me to like have my smarts about me. So she sent me to kickboxing. And my old kickboxing instructor was a lunatic. Like, it seriously, he had these two twins. He's from Lithuania, and he had these two twins, and they literally looked like they were on steroids. And he would make us punch walls. He would make us do crazy things, like find out how to take a knife off someone, a gun off someone. So it actually was very useful. I remember my mom saying that she regretted sending it to me because she got angry with me one time. You know how mums like to try and like raise their hand to you, and I started dodging, and she's like, oh, so you want to fight? But no, that's how I got into it, and it was really fun. Not just from a fighting perspective, but discipline. It gave me kind of the discipline I needed, and it gave me a little bit of a community. So it's lovely.
Do you know, that's really funny that you mentioned discipline, because I've noticed that I'm not a very disciplined person. Like, in my life, I've never really had to be disciplined outside of education. And then after I graduated, and now I'm like freelancing and things like that, I'm like, there's not really a real consequence to not being disciplined. But obviously, you're a content creator. You managed to get, I think, over 100K on like Instagram, things like that. Like, you can grow your platform in an incredible way, and I'm assuming you're treating that like a full-time job, being super disciplined with content. Like, how has that been with that? Because you're consistent.
I want to say yes and no. So I definitely think consistency and discipline is so important when you're a creator. Your audience want to know what they can expect from you. I wish I could say that it's my full-time. It's not at the moment. I actually do have a full-time job as well. And that's not because content creation doesn't make me enough. It was just because of my headspace. What I will say is that it depends on how you treat your content. For me, I'm very spontaneous. I'm happy to like just pick up the camera and film there and then. So in that respect, the discipline doesn't need to be there. But if you're not consistency, my apologies, is what is going to take your content far. So that is it. That's where the discipline is. And you do have to be disciplined as a creative. Although people don't think it, you might not have to be as disciplined as a 9 to 5. But when it comes to deadlines, when it comes to even like sending your invoices, your taxes, that discipline has to be there.
I would say that you almost have to be more disciplined as opposed to a 9 to 5, because a 9 to 5, there's structures that remind you and keep you on track and set those, like, they check in on you and all those type of things, you know. Whereas content creator, if you miss that tax form, it's long for you, like, you know, like, you're on your own with that type of stuff. But I'm just thinking back to your Italy story and how you did that for Valentine's Day, and obviously you've just had Valentine's Day. Do you do anything cute?
I did, but with my girls.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm recently single, and I feel like, for me anyway, this Valentine's Day was about pouring love into my friends and my family, and I didn't take it as oh no, I'm alone. Myself and some of my best friends, we went out, we had a fantastic night, you know, we found this cute little cocktail bar, we did dinner, we got our roses, and it was really lovely. So that's what I did. I mean, it's not like I didn't have offers, but I just didn't really want to spend it with anyone.
Them. Yeah, I completely hear it. I had a very shit Valentine's Day.
Sorry.
Yeah. A blast from the past was messaged me and was like, hey, like, this is just it's very bad. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Are you doing anything for Valentine's Day? Like, I want to come take you for a drive. I was like, okay, cool, right, random, as long as you're going to pick me up and drop me home, I don't care. Yeah. Instead of me going into the car, maybe seeing a rose, soft drink, biscuit, something, maybe a bottle of water, there was nothing but trauma. All he did was trauma dump on me as we drove around, then try love on me, and then say, but I may be going to pen for like 5 years for a RICO charge, so bye.
Okay, so why are we here?
I don't know.
Why are we here?
I sat back in my bed and I thought, Hayaat, we need to change this. We need to change this year, because this is even something like, this is just not right.
This can't be my destiny.
This is not right. It's not my destiny. And doing the discipline thing, I'm applying it to all areas of my life. I was like, we can't do it again. Yeah. But yeah, outside of discipline, I know that boundaries is like an important thing on social media, because a lot of people form parasocial relationships with creators that they really like. Do you feel like you've had that experience, or do you feel like there's any boundaries that you had to put in place that you didn't think you would have to before?
I feel like, so when it comes to the content creation industry, it's not always the friendliest. Especially, I feel, I mean, this is just my assumption, but where you are a Black creator especially, there is almost this diversity restriction where they have like, well, we've got one Black creator, we don't need any more. Yeah. So I feel like it kind of drums up competition amongst creators that are very similar. I would say I have not had the friendliest introduction into the skincare industry. So in terms of that, I had to put up boundaries. I've had to block people or remove people that I didn't feel,
This is so interesting. I feel like you're making sense to me today, because I have been struggling and going back and forth myself. Like, I've even documented it on this podcast about how to navigate like relationships with people in the content creation, modeling, whatever creative industry, because I kind of feel like if I set that boundary and, let's say, block the unfollows or whatever, a lot of the times it just causes a lot more discussion and a lot more bitchiness, and then a lot more drama, and then there's more questions or whatever. So it's like, I don't feel comfortable for you to have access to it, but at the same time I don't want all the pass up. So it's like, how do you know what to play it? Because I feel like, especially when you're a Black creator, people do love to first thing aggressive, or first thing you're the problem, or first thing, it doesn't matter what they do.
Oh babe, I got cool bad vibes. Me?
It's impossible. It's impossible.
Exactly.
Impossible.
I think there's a certain.
Oh, actually, just to interrupt, I was called just an angry Black ting from South.
No.
Yeah.
Not ting.
Ting.
Stop
yeah. Continue. Sorry.
No, that's out of order.
Yeah.
I would say that for the most part it is about ignoring things and just registering. So there was actually somebody who we got into, I don't want to say altercation because it really wasn't that deep, but he said some things and it ended with us blocking each other. So the issue is that we're all going to see each other. We're all going to be in the same room at the same table. Yeah. So eventually, after seeing him multiple times, I just went up to him and I said, listen, I know we didn't have the best introduction and I just feel like it should be left in the past. And he was lovely. He's actually someone who, in person, I think is amazing. And I could tell that I would have probably been friends with, but when on social media you just don't know people. So I think I think it's about kind of picking your battles and also being willing to kind of drop your ego. When it comes to networking, some of these people are not necessarily going to be your friends. It's like work. Like, you don't really like all your colleagues. You like some of them, you don't like all of them. So it's about just having that professionalism, because when you're a creator, whether you're going to an event or whether you are operating on social media, this is your brand. So you have to protect your brand. In the same breath, I've actually created some amazing friendships through content creation. I have met some creators that align with me, personality-wise, substance-wise, values-wise, everything. And I'm not, I'm extremely friendly, but when it comes to allowing people to get close, I'm a little bit guarded because I've just been stung in the past. But I'd say I've been lucky enough to have people on the same journey as me and that know what you're going through as well. So I think that's what it is. And also use close friends, Twitter circles. If you really want to, get stuff off your chest, do it in private.
Exactly.
In your group chat.
To be honest, I think that's really comforting to hear. I had a similar situation where someone who I was friends with in the industry, we had a thing, and I bumped into them last week at an event, and because influencer events are kind of intimate, if it's a dinner or a gifting thing or whatever, I was just like, I can't avoid you, so let's just squash it
Exactly.
and be done. But yeah, I do agree it's about picking your battles, and I feel like I just need to let go of a lot of the things and just charge it and be like, okay, cool, that happened, that was last year. Let's move on. Learn from the mistake, take the L, smoke it.
People are always going to talk as well, so it's almost, I know, feeling like, oh, if I block this person or remove this person, there's going to be more conversation. But what can you say? Oh, she blocked me. That's it. Like, you're always going to be spoken about, and I think it's not always necessarily a bad thing. Give them something to talk about. Just make sure you're running up your success, and you know, if you're going to talk about me, I'm going to give you something like to talk about.
No, genuinely. And I feel like a part of the, like, when I was really going back and forth with myself about that in particular, I kind of thought to myself, like, if you really believe in your talent and what you're meant to be doing, then these people shouldn't really matter to you. And I was like, Hayaat, you're kind of folding if you're going to get into this a bit too much. Like, let's stand up.
Yeah.
But yeah. So obviously spoken about that, but do you feel like there's ever been brand partnerships or things that have had to, like, challenge your integrity or anything like that? Because I've recently seen, do you know Whitney Maduke? So she, if you guys don't know, she did the viral foundation match with Givenchy, and they had reached out to her to work, and she actually declined them because they couldn't find something that she aligned. And I thought that was really sick. I was like, that's crazy, because I don't know if I would have the guts to say no to a brand like that. And maybe that's like a scarcity mindset or fear of like something better not coming, but I'm like, that's sick that you have that integrity, you stood in it, and you've been so public about it. So have you ever had like something like that?
Absolutely. And I think it's, for me anyway, integrity is everything, and I think it's so unfair as a creator or as an influencer to do something without integrity when you know that you have an audience following you. I have a lot of young women following me. We are in a cost of living crisis, so for me, I'm just not going to tell you to do something I don't believe in. I recently, and I hope my managers don't get onto me for like admitting this.
We can check with them.
I'm sure it'll be fine. But I had a really big brand partnership, so it would have been like a 5-figure deal. It's not my biggest deal, but it's one of the biggest I would have done. But I don't like the brand. I don't like the brand's products. Let me not say I don't like the brand, because it's a very like specific thing, but I just didn't feel like I could do that campaign with integrity. So I tried to find ways around it. I said, let me look at some of their other products and their other ingredients, and I will maybe test it for at least a minimum of 2 months, and we can go into it. But when I kind of looked at everything, the ingredients, it's everything I don't stand for. So I just had to let that money go. And I could sit here and be like, cost of living crisis, like, you know, my audience will understand, but sometimes the money is just not, it's not worth it. So it's just not, I would not have slept at night if I took that brand deal.
No, I do really respect that. Like, I think, especially with all the concert conversations, I kind of spoke about that on my last episode, so I'm not going to just beat a dead horse. I feel like integrity has come up a lot recently. And I think it's like, also being honest with myself and being like, my integrity isn't quite where I want it to be. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure if in that predicament I would say no. And it's like, I hope and I aspire to get to that point where I'm like, okay, here's all the things that I want to be as a creator or as an online space, especially as I still build my audience and know how I feel about things. But yeah, I just respect it. I rate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think the thing about integrity is not about always making the right decision. It's about being honest about your reasons for making a decision. We are not infallible. We are not perfect as people. We make mistakes every day. Mistakes are how you grow. And, you know, I can sit here and reflect on situations where I know I was in the wrong. Or I can even be as honest as to say, I've been in situations where I knew I was in the wrong and I still didn't care. And, you know, that's going to be my karma or my consequence or whatever to learn. So I'm so for giving people grace. So for example, I wouldn't beat down on another creator who potentially took that. Their circumstance might be different. They might be like, look, I really actually do need this money. I won't be able to pay my rent, or I need this money to do bigger things. Maybe I'll take this money and I'll do something really amazing with it. You really don't know. So yeah, I just think integrity is not about making the perfect decision, but just being honest with yourself and having that kind of self-awareness.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like before I started like content creation and modeling or whatever, I think it's so easy to judge when you're not in the predicament yourself. And I think I had like a very black or white thinking, and that's why like I would say things on here and I'd be like, but guys, I'm not trying to be self-righteous, like please understand that's not it. Because I'm like, I don't want to ever come across like I do everything perfect all the time. Like there's a lot like you said, there's things that I know that I've done that is wrong, but I accepted it and I did it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not the best, but I'm not going to pretend to be perfect.
Yeah.
So I definitely think with the integrity conversation, when you're not in the industry, I think it's easier to say how you would do things, but then when you're in those like boots, that position, especially when your job may not be consistently like coming in, I think that it's a bit different. But okay, I know that you're passionate about championing diversity in skincare. Yeah, I've done my research. And what do you think about how like skincare is being marketed at the minute? Do you know how skincare and hair care, they've kind of said, okay, this is for white people, this is for black people, this is for Asian skin, Do you feel like some of it is actually true, or do you feel like some of it is fear mongering?
I think it's a little bit of both. So there's some fear mongering in terms of, oh, black skin can't use this, and a lot of the time it's not that, it just needs to be with a little bit of caution. But what I will say is there definitely is not enough research on the effects on black skin. A lot of the time, even when we're looking at articles, medical articles and research, it's on a small study of people, and 9 times out of 10 the majority of them are white in very specific environmental conditions, with access to different money. And I think the economy affects things like your skin, and people don't want to admit that, but it does. So for me anyway, when it comes to how it's marketed, I think a lot of people do this. You know how you can have greenwashing, which is when a company believes that everyone wants to be sustainable, and then they pretend to be sustainable. I think it's the same thing with diversity. They're faking diversity a lot of the time. Sometimes you will have a product that says, oh, this is amazing for all skin types, and I'll put it on and I look like Casper the Ghost.
Oh my god. Yeah. Can we even talk about mineral sunscreens? I filmed a rant about that yesterday. I'm sick of this. I can't do it anymore. Someone, Rihanna, please either make some mineral sunscreens in the shades of your foundations. You've done it with skin tints. Please, let's do that. Also, cut me a check if you do that, or I can model. Let us know. Or, like, let's actually make some invisible ones that are good prices. Like, I remember speaking to you about this, and you recommended the Murad City Defense. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna get that eventually. But I find it so annoying that the chemical sunscreens you can get, like a Bondi Sands or like a La Roche-Posay, something that's, and
they're affordable. And that's the issue, is that there are some decent mineral sunscreens like the Murad one, but Murad is a luxury brand, and not everyone can afford that. And that kind of ties into what I just said about the economic factors and how that affects skincare. So it's just like, you have these brands that will say, yeah, we're so diverse, and then you'll go onto their Instagram and there is not a singular black woman, there's not a singular dark skinned woman. Or I've even had brands that I've worked with, and they've tried to say, you know, we'd love for you to say that this is great for black skin, and I'm not saying that, because it's not. I'm just not going to say it, because I don't believe that it is.
And they want to use you as a token to push something that's just not true. And it's like, I'm not going to damage my reputation and like my trust with my audience, so you can cut a check.
Exactly.
Make it work for me, and then I'll say it. And
then you have other brands that you definitely can see that commitment, like shout out L'Oreal, Garnier. They are so good at like diversity. You have some fantastic brands that do the work, like Avene. They do the work behind the scenes, like they do a lot of things for Black History Month and where it starts, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, skincare is political.
Yeah, man.
So political.
It really is, because a lot of the diverse brands online, you'll go to the event and you're 1 or 2 black people in the room. And I'm like, okay.
You're a checkbox.
Like, and that's how it feels a lot of the time, where it's like, sometimes I know that I'm being used to check a box, and I'm like, internally, okay, cool, you're using me as a token, but if I can make this beneficial and still do it in an honest way, then I will. But a lot of the times I do feel like, I kind of want to dodge that, because why should I make you look good when you're not actually committed to doing the work? But yeah, man, it's a lot of thoughts.
It is.
But yeah, I have another question.
Of course.
The influencer pay gap.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So if you guys aren't aware of what that is, it came out, I think in 2020 is the term, and it was talking about the pay difference between content creators of colour versus white content creators. And the pay gap was ridiculous.
Insane.
Like, egregiously big. Like, crazy. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so as a black creator, we get negotiated down a lot more. We get lowballed a lot more, and brands genuinely have this idea that black creators don't create as much of a return on investment. And this is a lie. Statistically, black people spend 6 times more when it comes to hair, beauty, and skincare. So ideally, we are the audience as well. We are the culture. If you look at trends, we are the people who create them on TikTok, on Instagram.
And then get eradicated from them. But
yeah, exactly. And then get literally hidden from them. So it doesn't make sense. It's the logic of it is not there. I would say that for me, I've been kind of lucky because my managers don't play about. They are not going to allow me to get lowballed.
Love that.
And I think it's just also about creating a more transparent environment as creators. A lot of creators don't talk to each other. They're not transparent about how much they earn, and that is where it starts. So myself and my creator friends that are black, we're very open, transparent about our how much we get, how much we earn, what contracts we have in place, what brands we're working with, and we're trying to kind of like work with each other. Like I try and talk to as many new creators as possible, and I'll say, look, make sure you're not charging under this, because if you do it, it makes it harder for all of us. And if you are, I think part of it is having good management as well.
Yeah, and it's so tough because a lot of people don't know what they deserve. Like when you get your first paid brand deal, you're like so gassed, like, bro, I'm getting paid to make a video. Like this is sick. But sometimes you're so excited to take that you don't understand that you just lowered the standard for everyone else that looks like you. And it's so difficult because it's hard to find management who are willing to go to bat for you and challenge the brand and make sure that all of their like clients are earning the same. Like I've recently just got social media management. I love it to bits. I know, but how would you go about advising people when it comes to management or finding it?
So there's 2 main types of management. You can either have a very personal manager who works with you on a one-to-one basis, or you can go with an agency. And there's pros and cons to both. With a personal manager, you can just have deeper conversations and more connection about what you want. With a bigger agency, they may have more connections with brands, but then you have more competition. So they're not going to just pitch you, they might pitch the whole roster, so you have a bit more competition there. I personally went with somebody I knew and trusted, who I knew had been in the game for a while and had amazing connections as well. But definitely do your research about brands. You can also, what I did is I looked at creators that I love what they're doing, they work with brands that I like, and then I looked at who managed them and did my research on that. Don't feel pressured into going with anyone in particular. The industry standard is 20%, and I'd say that just be clear with your manager about what you want. So for me, my managers are incredible, amazing. I have ADHD and they're very understanding about it. We have like our weekly meetings, allows me to focus on content creation. But you know, we just communicate, and I tell them what I expect, they tell me what they expect from me, and we just work together. So I think that's what it is about creating a really open relationship with the person that you're being managed by, and having that expectation like, cool, I'm gonna give you the best of my work, and these are my deadlines or whatever, and you make sure that you just bring that money in, bring the contracts in. Yeah,
and you know what, I would also recommend that a lot of agents do like a 3-month trial period.
Yes.
So make sure that if that's like available to you, try to do that before exclusively signing with someone, because you can also see if like the relationship stays like, you know, I don't know what the right word is, but it stays positive, you're still having an open dialogue. And because I feel like sometimes, at least on the modelling side, and not my agency, which is really funny because it's just over there. It's like the next studio over. But I think with my first one, we started off really, really well. And then after the 3 months, we completely dropped off. And it was the case for all of the new girls, and we all kind of left. And then now with this one, I'm like, one thing that I like is that you can talk consistently and they put the effort into everyone. And also don't be shy to reach out to people who are with them and just ask them like, really, like, hey, how are you finding it? Do you recommend them? Any concerns or any questions I should ask, and see how it goes.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree.
Yes. Okay. So I now want to know how the creation process works, because you be putting out videos. Like, I'm like, how did she even think of these ideas? Like, even the one where you were like talking about the order of products and you did it on like the surface, I was like, so satisfying. I'm watching this like 8 times.
Do you know what's so funny? When I did that, I have never seen a video replicated so many times in my life.
This is the thing, and people weren't crediting you, you know?
No.
I was annoyed, but that was...
I was definitely... I mean, I'm not going to say I'm the first person because, you know, great minds think alike, so it could have been, but I promise I was the first person to do that and it go viral.
Yeah.
And I saw every brand, and I've been copied a lot, but it is what it is. But no, in terms of the creation process, I mean, I could sit here and be like, well, I get up at 5 a.m. and I do... No, that's not what it is. Part of it is being engaged with social media. You have to stay on top of trends. So I make sure I'm really like into my TikTok, into my reels. As soon as there's a trending sound, you have such a small gap to kind of capitalize on that and bring it over to, from TikTok, for example, to Instagram. So I try to, I have some like what I call low labor videos for days where I'm feeling a little bit lower. Like right now, I'm in this kind of weird mental space, kind of fighting depression. So I haven't really put out content for about a week. And if in that event, what I do is, for example, there's a sound on TikTok, which is just typing. Just look at your phone, you type, and then use on screen to give value. If it's not that, I have a range of different styles of videos I can do where I'm just talking to the camera and speaking about pain points. If I have a more kind of creative video, like the one where I've set it up and I did the order of the products, I think the creative process is just about giving yourself space to plan and to think and to be yourself, to be authentic, trying to execute it and making use of your time. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've been in the rave editing before. No, legit.
Don't kill me in the back of the class.
I swear to you, editing in the middle of the rave with the AirPod in my ear, like, I need to get this video up by prime time. Like, so that it is what it is.
That's so funny. Oh, and you know what? I think that's really real that you mentioned that sometimes you don't have the energy to when you're going through a depressive episode, because I feel like when I'm going through it, the last thing I want to do is be on socials and be making these things. But one thing I've realised, especially last year, is that I kind of spent too much time being sad instead of like... I don't think there's an issue with having negative emotions at all, but I think I wasted a lot of time wallowing in that as opposed to coming up with things that I could have done like that would have still helped me grow and like build in that time instead of just kind of taking off completely. Because I think when I took that break, my engagement suffered.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
Can
it
you
was
take
disgusting.
a small break and it's a wrap?
No, like legit, and it still hasn't recovered back, and I'm like trying to like hustle to get back up there. But I definitely think it's good to have those type of, okay, I'm not feeling the best, but I still need to get this done. Here's the easiest way that I can do it, which I think is really smart. I never really thought of that.
And you can also use, it depends on how comfortable you are, but you can use your sadness as content. That's probably not the best way to do it. I could maybe just be transparent. So I suffer from like chronic depression and ADHD. So I talk about that a lot. When I'm feeling really low, I might just do a video about, this is how I do my skincare when I'm in a depressive episode. So if you're going through similar, these are like the steps. You can just strip it back and you can just be transparent. Like, I have a lot of people that say, oh, they resonate with me because I'm not trying to create this image of perfection. Like, I have days where I have not got out of bed. I might do a 17-step skincare routine on this day. On this day, I did one because that's it. Yeah.
It's like I may have done 8 steps this day and then I've not washed my face for 2 days.
Exactly. Yeah,
like, bro, I've been fighting sunscreen. I don't know the last time I applied that for real. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the episode, and I like to end every episode with either the hard way, which is like a pun on the hard way of doing things, and then never that deep. What is something that you've kind of, I think, gone through and looked back on and been like, oh, this wasn't that serious, and I kind of spent too much time stressing about that. So you can choose one or the other.
I can give you a situation that was never that serious.
Yeah, so.
So I almost lost a brand deal, and I got into my head, like I was so upset. I was like, I'm gonna quit content creation. I'm not for this. And now looking back at it, why I think it was never that serious is that I feel like as people we personalize rejection. I don't take rejection well. I just don't. And I had to kind of sit beside myself and realize that the reason I was taking it that way is because I took it as something is wrong with me, and it wasn't. Sometimes, whether it's a brand deal or if it's a person or a friendship or whatever, job, sometimes it's not about you, it's them, what they want, and it's okay for somebody to have a different direction or to change their mind. So yeah, I think that kind of situation taught me to depersonalize rejection. I looked back at the situation. It wasn't that serious. I ended up redoing the video. They loved it. Campaign went ahead.
Oh, I love that.
So it really wasn't that serious. But listen, you would have thought like my cat died. You would have thought it was the end of the world at the time. So yeah, that situation wasn't that. It's never that serious.
No, I love that as a lesson, because I do definitely think, even what we were saying before about like struggling with the hostility of creators and stuff, I internalized that so badly, and I really was depressed for a while, because I was like, I normally get along with people, I think I do care about being liked more than I would let on, and I was just like, rah, like I feel like I'm like, is this like, you know, like I really internalized it and thought, okay, shit, what is it about me that isn't vibing with these people, as opposed to not everyone's going to like you, and that's kind of okay, and it's just not that serious. But I would say my never that deep is, I think, inconsistency when it comes to content creation and actual skincare. I'm definitely trying to work on the inconsistency with content creation, because I do think for a while I had one foot in, one foot out, where it's like I'm kind of freshly graduated, I'm modelling, I'm starting to content create, but I thought if this doesn't work out, I'll just go back to corporate. And now as I progress and I'm seeing what's like open to me, I'm like, I don't really want to go back to corporate yet, or like always have that as my first resort when things get a bit tough. So even though I can be inconsistent, I need to kind of think of like backup things for when I'm not feeling that good, and I can still be productive in that way. And also not beating myself up for not wearing sunscreen this week.
Do you know what? Yes. Yeah. It happens. You're not gonna like age 20 years because you just forgot it one day. Like that is never that deep. Yeah. Sunscreen's important, but you do what you can. Like you shouldn't get anxious. I don't know, skincare is meant to be self-care. It's meant to be nice.
It's soothing.
So listen, I apologize on behalf of some of my fellow skincare content creators, because videos can feel like they're like, wear sunscreen. Like, just do what you can.
Okay, well, we are wrapping up. This is the end of the episode. I want to thank you so much for coming on and being so vulnerable and honest and giving such great advice.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much. Do you want to shout out your social media for people to follow you?
Yes, so my social media is Skinfiltrator on literally all the platforms. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow me there for skincare tips.
Yes, I will put that below. And so have a nice day, guys, and bye.